Okay. Have you ever been right there, like on the very edge of getting something you really want, only to find yourself doing the one thing that makes sure you won't get it? It's this superhuman, super frustrating paradox, and today we're going to unpack the science behind why we get in our own way. I mean, that's the big question, right? We make these big goals, we lay out the plans, but then something inside us just seems to slam on the brakes. Or worse, it feels like it yanks the steering wheel and sends us right off the road. So, what is going on there? All right, let's get on the same page with a clear definition. Self-sabotage isn't just one thing you do. It's like a whole collection of behaviors and ways of thinking that consistently get between you and what you say you want. It's really just that gap between what you intend to do and what you actually do. So, to really get this, we've got to look at the psychology first. And it turns out, these behaviors, they aren't just random acts of self-destruction. Nope. They are often our own mind's misguided attempts to protect us from something we fear even more than failing. And that's something we're so afraid of? It's a threat to our ego, our sense of who we are. It is all about protection. Seriously, think of these behaviors as these unconscious little defense mechanisms. Their main job isn't to make you fail, it's to shield you from the totally crushing anxiety that comes with just the possibility of failure. Aw man, we all do this, right? We come up with these perfectly logical sounding excuses to justify what we're doing. Oh, I'll start fresh on Monday. Or, I just can't work unless I'm, in the right mood. But what's really going on behind that excuse is a deeper fear. The fear of actually starting and finding out maybe we're not good enough. And this brings us to this really fascinating trick our minds play called self-handicapping. This is where we deliberately, though usually we don't even realize we're doing it, create obstacles for ourselves. It's like putting a hurdle in your own lane before the race even starts. Now, what's so wild about this is that it comes in two main flavors. You've got the behavioral kind, where you create a real obstacle, like staying out all night before a big exam. Then you have the claimed kind, where you just talk about an obstacle, like telling everyone how sick you feel. But either way, the psychological goal is identical. It's a win-win for your ego. If you fail, well, you can just blame the handicap, not your ability. But if you somehow succeed, whoa, then you must be an absolute genius. Okay, this one is a total mind bender. Cognitive dissonance is that really uncomfortable feeling we get when our actions don't match our beliefs. So, get this. If you have a deep down core belief that you're unworthy or not good enough, then actually succeeding or being in a happy, healthy relationship creates this massive internal alarm. So, and this is the crazy part, you might actually sabotage the good thing just to get back to that familiar, comfortable state of proving your negative belief right. Wild, isn't it? So we've looked at this psychological why. Now let's dive into the biological how. Because this whole thing isn't just in your head, psychologically speaking. It's actually wired into the very architecture of your brain. And this right here is the central conflict. It's a tug of war in your skull. On one side, you have your prefrontal cortex. Think of it as the logical CEO, planning for your future. But on the other side, you've got your amygdala, the ancient emotional security guard. And this security guard cannot tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and a scary email. When it perceives any threat, like the fear of rejection, it just hijacks the whole system, screaming, "Danger, get out." And this tug of war, it's not a one-time thing. It gets locked into this self-feeding loop that can be incredibly, incredibly hard to break out of. So here's how that nasty cycle works. Step 1. Some stressful task triggers that "I can't do this" feeling. So step 2. You avoid it. You procrastinate, you watch TV, whatever. And then comes step 3. In that moment, you get this huge rush of relief. The anxiety goes down, and your brain goes, "Hey, that worked." Avoiding the scary thing makes the scary feeling go away. That's called negative reinforcement, and it is so powerful. But the problem is, the task is still there, and now it's bigger, and you have less time, which means the whole cycle is going to be even stronger the next time around. Okay, so where in the world do these deep-seated patterns even start? It's really important to look at the origins, not so we can point fingers or cast blame, but so we can have some real understanding and compassion for why these strategies showed up in the first place. And again, the research points back to our very first relationships. If the people taking care of us were inconsistent or neglectful or even scary,
we develop these kind of like subconscious rule books about the world. And these rules might say things like, the world is dangerous, you can't rely on people, or your needs are a problem. We then carry that invisible rule book with us right into adulthood.
And here's what's so crucial to get. These early experiences don't just mess with our psychology. They can actually disrupt our basic ability to regulate our own bodies and emotions. Think about it. If you never really learned how to soothe yourself when you were little, it's no surprise that as an adult, you might turn to things like avoidance or picking fights as a desperate way to manage all that overwhelming stress inside. All right. After looking at the why, the how, and the where it all comes from, this might feel a little heavy. But this next part, this is the most important part of this whole thing. There is a clear, proven path forward. And here it is. The good news. It's a concept called neuroplasticity. All this means is that your brain is not set in stone. It is constantly changing and adapting. Those deep, well-worn pathways of self-sabotage are not permanent. You can literally carve new roads in your brain. So, one super practical way to do this is with something called CBT. It focuses on catching those automatic negative thoughts and actually challenging them. It also uses this brilliant technique where you break huge, scary tasks down into what they call embarrassingly small steps, so small that your brain's alarm system doesn't even go off. Now, if your self-sabotage is really driven by these big, intense emotional swings, DBT can be an absolute game changer. It gives you actual skills to tolerate distress. Basically, how to sit with a really uncomfortable urge, like the urge to procrastinate, and just ride the wave of that feeling without having to act on it. And then there's ACT, which is this really profound shift in perspective. The goal here is not to argue with or get rid of negative thoughts, because let's be honest, you can't. The real goal is to change your relationship with them, to kind of unhook from them so they don't get to be the boss of you anymore. And this right here, perfectly shows how it works. See, instead of just thinking, I'm going to fail, you practice saying to yourself, I am having the thought that I'm going to fail. Just adding that little phrase creates space. It reminds you that you are not your thoughts. You're the one who notices them. You're the sky, and your thoughts are just clouds passing by. So look, if you take just one thing away today, please let it be this. Self-sabotage is not a sign that you are lazy or broken or that there's something fundamentally wrong with you. It is a survival strategy. It's a way you learned to protect yourself, probably for very good reasons, that has just stopped being useful. It's like outdated software running on your computer. And I really want to leave you with that question. What if all this stuff you beat yourself up about is just a survival skill that's past its expiration date? Thinking about it like that, it isn't an excuse, but it's an explanation. And it opens the door for self-compassion, which is, without a doubt, the very first step toward making real, lasting change and finally getting out of your own way.